Why are you listening to me? I don't care what you do once this thing's over with. You can lay down and die and...
For years, fans of Bonanza adored Hoss Cartwright, the gentle giant who brought warmth and humor to the screen. But behind the scenes, the man who embodied Hoss, Dan Blocker, lived a story full of surprising twists and hidden truths, now decades later. One of his sons has confirmed what fans had long suspected, a revelation that changes everything we thought we knew about the beloved actor. To understand this revelation, we must first look back at the remarkable life of Dan Blocker, whose journey from a Texas grocery store to Hollywood stardom was anything but ordinary. Born as Bobby Dan Davis Blocker on December 10, 1928, in DeKalb, Texas, he entered the world in dramatic fashion, weighing an incredible 14 pounds at birth. From the beginning, it was clear his life would be larger than most. Raised in the small town of O'Donnell, Dan learned the value of hard work early on. By the age of 10, he was hauling grain and doing construction jobs alongside grown men. His unusual size and strength earned him the nickname the Biggin, and by 12, he was already 6 feet tall and weighed 200 pounds. Though some locals tried to challenge him, Dan never lost a fight, yet he was never a bully. His strength was tempered by kindness, a quality that would follow him throughout his life. After high school, Dan attended the Texas Military Institute and later Sul Ross State University, where his athletic ability earned him a football scholarship. By then, he stood an imposing 6'4" and weighed 275 pounds, a presence impossible to ignore. But fate had other plans. When his college drama club needed someone strong to move stage props, they called on Dan. That small favor turned into his first acting role in Arsenic and Old Lace. The thrill of the stage captured him, and he soon shifted his major from English to theater. Though he had offers to play professional football, Dan chose acting instead. His passion eventually took him to New York City, where he landed roles in stage productions like King Lear, marking the start of a career that would one day make him a household name. But before Hollywood came calling, life had another detour for Blocker. After college, he joined the U.S. Army and found himself in the middle of the Korean War. His size alone presented challenges. His boots had to be specially made, but once on the battlefield, his courage proved greater than his frame. Serving as a combat infantry sergeant, he endured brutal trench warfare and freezing conditions. On one harrowing night, Dan risked his life to rescue a pinned-down comrade, an act of bravery that left him wounded but earned him a Purple Heart. The experience changed him forever. He returned home deeply critical of war and became an outspoken advocate for peace, determined never to glorify violence after seeing its true cost. When Dan came home, he married his college sweetheart, Dolphia Parker, and together they raised 4 children in a home filled with love and laughter. While working toward his doctorate at UCLA, Don's towering frame and easy Southern charm caught the attention of casting agents. At the time, Westerns dominated television, and Blocker seemed made for the genre. He took on small roles in Gunsmoke, Cold Point for Five, and The Rifleman, before landing a recurring part in Cimarron City. These appearances revealed his natural charisma and comedic timing, setting the stage for his big break. That break came in 1959, when Dan Blocker was cast as Hoss Cartwright in NBC's Bonanza. The role would define his career and make him a television legend. As Hoss, Dan embodied the lovable, warm-hearted son of the Cartwright family. He wasn't the sharpest of the clan, but his big heart and unshakable loyalty made him irresistible. To audiences, for Dan, playing Hoss was more than just acting. It was an extension of his own values. Inspired by the words of an 18th century Quaker missionary, to do all the good you can, he infused Hoss with a sense of justice and compassion that resonated with viewers across the country. Children adored him, families trusted him, and adults admired his integrity. Behind the scenes, Blocker shared close friendships with his co-stars Lorne Greene and Michael Landon. The trio became like family, and Dan even served as best man at Londone's wedding. Though he occasionally ventured into film, appearing in projects with Frank Sinatra, it was television where he truly belonged. Yet despite his success, Blocker remained humble, never forgetting his small-town roots or the struggles of ordinary people. He often spoke out for underpaid teachers, saying he owed his success to the education that shaped him. Still, fame came with challenges. Don's size and recognizable face made it impossible for him to go unnoticed. Family vacations often turned chaotic when fans crowded around him, calling out Hoss. Wherever he went, seeking a quieter life, he eventually moved his family to Switzerland in 1970, enchanted by its peaceful countryside and the chance to raise his children away from Hollywood's pressures. Contrary to rumors, the move wasn't financial. He was wealthy from Bonanza, but rather a deliberate choice. For privacy and peace, Don's sense of fairness extended far beyond the screen. During one filming trip to the South, when a hotel refused accommodations to African-American members of the Bonanza crew, Dan stood firm. If they couldn't stay, he declared, then none of them would. His stand against racial injustice revealed the same moral courage that once drove him on the battlefield. "I hate a bully worse than anything," he once said, and he lived by those words. But Blocker also had a lighter side, most famously his enormous appetite. His breakfasts alone, often a dozen eggs, 2 loaves of bread, and milk, were legendary. He loved hearty meals, especially ham and baked goods, and his sweet tooth was nearly as famous as his role. This passion for food even led him to co-own the Ponderosa Steakhouse chain, named after the Cartwright family ranch. Yet the demands of Hollywood forced him into cycles of dieting and exercise to maintain his image, a struggle that wore on him. The years went by. Tragically, Don's life was cut short at the age of 43. In 1972, he underwent what should have been routine gallbladder surgery. Though the procedure seemed successful at first, he suddenly developed a pulmonary embolism, a fatal blood clot, and passed away. His death sent shockwaves through Hollywood and devastated fans who had come to love him as both Hoss and as himself. Rumors swirled afterward, including the bizarre tale that he was buried in a piano box due to his size. In reality, he was laid to rest in a standard casket in Woodlawn Cemetery in Santa Monica. The piano box story, though false, became one more legend befitting a man of his stature. His passing was also a devastating blow to Bonanza. Without Hoss, the heart of the show was gone. Michael Landon, tasked with writing the first episode after Don's death, chose to let Hoss's absence speak through silence and grief rather than explanation. The show continued for one more season but never recovered its former magic. By 1973, it was cancelled, and many agreed that Bonanza truly ended the day Dan Blocker died. For his son, Dirk Blocker, the loss was both personal and life-defining. Dirk followed his father into acting, but deliberately chose the path of a character actor, avoiding the overwhelming fame that had surrounded Dan. He carried with him the lessons of his father's humility, humor, and integrity. Reflecting years later, Dirk confirmed what fans had always felt: Hoss Cartwright wasn't just a role. It was a reflection of Dan himself, a gentle giant who believed in fairness, peace, and kindness. Dan Blocker's life may have been short, but it left an indelible mark on television history and on those who knew him. He wasn't just the heart of the Cartwright family, he was the heart of Bonanza. And through the warmth he brought to millions of homes, his legacy continues to shine.